This
4:40.
conference will now be recorded.
All set. Everyone's microphones on. The time being 4:50 p.m. I'd like to call the meeting of June 24th, 2021 to order. Before we get started, if you are joining us virtually, please mute your microphone during the meeting unless you want to speak. Otherwise, background noise will interfere with the meeting. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Bring the minutes of June 17th to the floor for review and approval.
Chairman, I
Yes.
make a motion to accept the minutes of Thursday, June 17th as written.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Ruggles second.
Ruggles second. Any discussion? Yeah? All set? Okay. All right. Anyone else? Hearing no further discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carries. Next on our agenda, Land Use Coordinator Leanne Moynihan, Department update. Hi, Leanne. How are you today? How are things in land use? Oh, make sure you push your green button there. Thank you.
Oh,
Oh,
so last time I was here, I believe was April, so we didn't really have a May update. So this is kind of May, June combined in the numbers, I believe. So as you see right at the top, I just kind of did a little overview. The biggest change the past couple months has just been the volume. The volume has increased quite a bit. Both building permits and on the land use side. I don't know if it's because of COVID, although we were fairly busy last year because of COVID, but you know, we're up 200% in building permits. We're up 450% in planning applications, and we are up 460% in zoning board applications. And that is even higher if you compare it to 2019. So even if you take COVID out, we're still pretty busy. So we did have a change on the planning board. The planning board vice chair Judy Tilton resigned in May. We did get a new member. Thomas Damon is now on the board, so that's good. But we never seemed to gain. We just seemed to stay the same as far as membership. So we still could use obviously more planning board members. We only have 5. We seem to only have 4 at meetings, so we're just barely making quorum. So if anyone knows anyone, I encourage them to. I've been talking to people, but I can't seem to get anyone to commit.
Pick a new vice chair or no?
No, and I noticed that when I did the report, so I think we'll have to do that at the next meeting. I'll put it on the agenda. We should have done it this month because we just got the resignation in May, but it was an oversight, so we'll get a new vice chair. Below are the cases. We do have a few more approvals since the last time. Pending, we actually have that are not listed on here already. I have 4 more planning board applications that will be coming. Well, actually not coming, we'll be reviewing, but I already have. We have U-Haul submitted a very comprehensive plan with AOT permits and wetland. They'll be going to conservation. That's a big project and that just came in. Maya Properties is on West Main Street. He wants to put a big building in the back. I think he's a HVAC maybe. He's almost across from DPW, I think. So anyway, he's coming to do a new building. And also Camaro Heaven wants to put a big building behind his existing building. And he wants to get rid of, he's got 4 school buses that he stores parts in. He wants to get rid of the school buses and put it in a building. So I think that will help that a little bit. So that'll be positive. On the planning side, on the zoning side, oh, one other thing on the planning side, we did have one change of use, which you might already have heard about. It's the old PD. So it's going to be a sober living house. And that went to planning last night and was approved. So they got their building permit and they're starting their renovations. So I don't know, I think they're moving pretty quickly. I don't know when they'll be open, but I would think, like I said, they're moving really quick. So they still are under review by police, fire, and obviously our office. So they'll probably open by next month for sure, I would think. They said they'll have around 15, they said 15 to 20 residents, but we're requiring them to give us an exact number. We're not going to give it we're going to approve the building permit with only a certain defined maximum amount of occupants. So that is with the old police department. So I think that might be a good use of that building. Zoning board, we have no changes in membership. We still have 5 members. We're up to 14 cases and only halfway through the year. So as you can see, even in 2019, we only had 7 cases. So that's, more than 2 cases a month. So zoning is also very busy. We have nothing really significant there, mostly a lot of residents coming for setbacks. Permits are up. We're up to 152 permits already. Again, we're way above where we were last year for permits at this time. So we only had 75. So construction is ongoing, even though I guess it's really expensive. Inspections are going well. Chuck is working his 3 mornings, and that's he's very productive. He gets a lot done in his 12 hours, doing, like I said, just strictly inspections, but that's going really well. Assessing.
Excuse me.
Yep,
I know you're on a roll,
that's okay.
but when he goes out on these various cases, he makes a report every time
Correct.
about what he does.
Yep.
And we could stop by your office.
Of
and-
course. Yep. I attached the calendar, which shows the inspections he does, but I didn't obviously attach every inspection that
I'm
he does
just
too.
curious.
Yep. So when we have a new procedure now, which I talked about a little bit last meeting, but so they're scheduled on a calendar. When a permit comes in, we have an inspection report attached to the permit, and it tells the applicant all the inspections they need. And then when he goes out and does the inspection, he makes a note of what he found, and that stays with the building permit. We also have started we bought these stickers. We have red and green stickers. So when he goes out to do an inspection, if something, because a lot of times people aren't there, like electricians aren't there or plumbers when he does an inspection. So he has a sticker, he puts it on. If it failed, he puts a red sticker, and he puts why it failed and a green. So we have the green and red stickers too that we're using in the field as well. Okay. Yeah, anytime you want to come in and check those, that's no problem. Complaints, I've taken some items off. Some of the items that you saw last time that are still on, maybe because the status changed from open to closed. But I won't go through all of them. I don't know if there's any in particular you have questions on. I'm happy to answer, but we're, working on all of them to try and get them all closed. I don't know if anyone has anything specific, but they're just all different types of issues. Mostly complaints, education. Janice did take a zoning administrative training course in May, the end of May, so I put that on there. And for meetings, well, the charrette, was postponed to September. And for Lakes Regional Planning Commission, there was a transportation meeting on June 1st, and on next Monday we have a commissioners meeting. So that is what I have, and I'm happy to answer. The other kind of update is Honda, if anyone's interested. Honda's moving very quickly. They're trying to get done by mid-July. I don't think that'll happen. They're looking for temporary occupancy permits, meaning I guess there's an issue with getting cars, starting to get cars delivered. They won't be given any temporary occupancy permits until they're approved by our engineer as far as just exterior occupancy permits, because we'll actually give them an exterior occupancy permit temporary, and an interior, they want to do some fit up inside, which is also common before you let public in. They get inside and start doing some work. So, we'll go through all the normal safety procedures for that. Engineering, Steve Keach will review the exterior before we allow anything as far as paving. They do have a little bit of a problem with some drainage, I guess. They had I don't want to call it a sinkhole, but I guess some of the fill didn't set right, and they're having some of the paving was actually, caving in on one side. So they're actually ripping it all up and trying to fix that. So that's going to cause some delays. I know John Chatfield, who's the lead on that, is, pulling his hair out trying to getting pushed for a deadline. But so that's getting fixed though. So that's good. And like I said, nothing will be done without approvals from our engineers.
I don't know if anybody's been out there for some site visits, but they've had some washouts where all the gravel is spread across Route 3 and 11, and there's no silt fencing.
All right, we'll check on that.
So
Okay. And I was out there a couple of times.
it hasn't been raining much, but
Yeah.
when it does, it flows across. the
Yeah,
road.
there was one issue with the resident on Morrison with regard to them. I guess they tested their lights. They had the lights on all night long, but it was for testing purposes. It would have been nice, I think, if they had just kind of let people know, and then at least they know it's just one night. So that was a little bit of a nuisance for the neighbors because it was pretty bright out there. But that was a one night thing. And then they were doing some landscaping on Morrison as well, on the Morrison side. So there was some construction going on and some debris, and I talked to John about cleaning that up. So
Yeah, they
hopefully-
didn't put any, silt fencing in.
they didn't. Okay, I'll check that out again. So they were working on that.
The other thing was, when we were doing some stuff at Salmon Run cleaning up, the trail committee that was doing the cleanup came through and reported that there was excessive amounts of trash and garbage that blown off the back of the construction site onto
Of the Honda construction site?
So
I'll mention it to John.
they didn't want to go up on their property.
Yeah, all right, I'll let him know. Yeah, they've been pretty good to work with. We haven't had really any big problems, couple little things like that here and there, but for a big project like that, I'm surprised we don't have more, especially with a residential neighborhood abutting a big construction site. So, you're going to get some of that. But anything else? Any other questions about what's going on? Tilton storage is moving along, few issues there. They're also abutting a residential area, so you're going to get that manufactured park back there that has some
The one
issues.
next to Hannaford,
Yes,
on the city
Yeah.
line, town line.
yeah. So they're not used to having anything next to them. So there's a couple of residents that are going to be staring at a storage facility rather than the woods, because they took all the trees down, but
I
it was
thought they
all
were
on.
leaving a buffer on that.
Well, I did review the site plan on that, and they are going to replant trees, but it's going to take a while. There is some fence, but it's not as high as they wanted. They did compromise, and I think the developer is paying half and the Suns community is paying half to raise the height in that one section where those homes are looking right at it. They're going to double the height.
Good compromise.
Yeah, so, again, if they had come forward maybe at the time of the site plan review, they might have gotten more because the planning board could have required a little more buffer, but they are going to put trees, but it takes a while for those trees to get planted and get up. And in the meantime, a lot of dust and dirt out there, but so,
With everything going on, is he keeping up with inspections? Nothing falling majorly behind?
we're
or-
not falling behind, but we are busy. Yeah. Yeah.
or he gets in and he goes and
He just gets in and goes, I think the behind gets, he comes in, he does inspections and he does a really good job, and he's busy all the time. He's only 12 hours. So the overflow of a lot of the paperwork and the filing and the tracking now and putting all those reports back, there's a lot more paperwork involved on our end, where Al did a lot of his own scheduling, filing or whatever filing he did, or tracking. So now with additional tracking and, paperwork, it's more work, which is falling on Janice. So, and she's part-time. So that might be getting a little behind. So if anywhere, and not to her detriment, just that, I mean, you can only do so much with, so many hours. And then with the additional, all these cases that we do, I mean, that's great that, we have all this development coming into town, but the paperwork behind the scenes on this is enormous, just getting all the butter notices out. And a lot of these applicants don't know how to fill out their applications. And, copies and sets of these are sent to all the members and, and then tracking conservation. And so there's a lot of paperwork involved in these, getting the stuff over to our engineer, coordinating with, like, U-Haul's going to have our engineer, the escrow accounts, all that is really time consuming. So I've kind of taken a lot of that off Janice and pulled back almost all the planning on my side. So she's can strictly do, help Chuck with the building permits and paperwork involved there. And we do the assessing, we do all the deeds and all the filing. So anyway, we're busy for sure. It really is it's more than a person in two halves, not even two halves amount of work, but we're keeping up.
How many hours a week is she? Is she 20 or 24?
24, 8:30 to 1:30.
I can't remember off the top of my head.
It's 20. It's 20. She was hired at 16 and we added 4. So she's right. I'm right. Yeah, 5 hours, 4 days a week, right? So 8:30 to 1:30, and then Chuck is 3 days, right? So it's a lot. It wasn't too bad through COVID because it wasn't quite as busy and everything was electronic. But things are really ramping up. So we'll see. We're hoping it will slow down in the winter. So I don't know. The cost of construction doesn't seem to be slowing people down.
Yeah, well,
So.
it's,
Tilton School's doing a big, they're doing a lot. We're busy with everybody. It's like, and Tilton's opening up a coffee shop. That's another, I guess, I don't know if you know, they're opening up a little coffee shop on downtown. So again, we got to do that tenant fit up inspections and paperwork for that. They're renovating their dining hall, right? A big renovation of the dining hall. They want to build a gazebo out there and outdoor amphitheater. So that's all coming through our office and
it's all going to happen in 60 days because they go back to school. And I'm sure they want at least the dining hall to be.
Well, at least the dining hall, yeah. They don't even have their permit yet, so. And Craig Wiseman is working on his property down by the bridge to do that little park area and food truck down there that he's doing. That got approved. At the, what's it called? The store.
Trading Post.
Thank you. Winnisquam
Post to the right of it.
Country Market, or what's it called? Country
Yeah.
Market? He's got that little, where the old post office, he's taking down all those, it'll be nice. He's taking down those old dilapidated buildings and gonna
Looks like
clean up
it's-
that site.
She started taking that because I noticed the other day. I was
Yep,
going
he got his
over
asbestos report and he was gonna start taking it down. Yeah. Those old, they were all dilapidated, I believe. Wasn't it a post office or something there?
Yeah, and most recently it was Adrenaline Motorsports. It was a motorcycle repair shop.
Oh.
One immediately next to it.
We own the land in front of that motorcycle
Yes, you do.
repair shop.
You own that.
The town does, yeah. And the parking.
That's all I
Nice.
can think of.
It's all gonna be nice.
Yeah, hopefully it's all improvements, yeah.
Well, if you feel like the world is getting overwhelmed in your department, make sure you report to us sooner than a monthly report. And
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to slow down anytime soon. Unless we run out of, I mean, I don't know what percent
know,
of the
usually
town is
that-
built out, but I mean,
Yeah.
commercial space, it's,
Usually what happens is building permits slow down in the winter, but planning ramps up because people try and get their planning done so they're ready in the summer. But now it just seems to be, both sides keep, I'm surprised this much planning and zoning in the summer, but,
usually planning is slower in the summer, but
right, that's why we usually only meet once in July and August, but,
we weren't normal until May, April. So,
yeah.
We need to add a couple hours onto.
well, that's kind of, I was hinting at, but not saying directly.
Well, I'll let you know.
You know,
See how
just
it
for the
goes.
summer or something.
Yeah.
Until fall or something, and then it slows close back down and we go back down to the 24th. Possible too.
We get our budget.
And then,
Guru to-
yeah, code enforcement and and then you're out, on sites trying to keep people
Right.
doing the right thing. And
Chuck's happy. He's like, woo.
Chuck Bodine?
Yeah.
Oh, no, yeah, he's good. He's
Yeah.
good.
Never seen him. That's good.
I know.
comes
He's,
in.
he goes, flies in, he flies out. Maybe if you, anything, I'd like to make a request on the town vehicle.
I do see him.
That's,
Nice to have something a little
That's
more,
Franken- I think
a
they
little
nicknamed
more
that Franken car.
roadworthy on construction sites, but keep us in mind if you ever have
We're working
anything
on
that
it.
has four-wheel drive or something to get him up and down some of these sites and locations, especially if he's going to be out in the, I mean, he's out in the summer now, out in the winter. I don't know,
Do we have
if you have
a,
an old
do we have a-
Definitely
cruiser or
Old
something,
SUV, yeah.
yeah, that would be nice. We would really appreciate that.
or do we have,
When's it coming up?
do we have a Franken truck anywhere that Kevin's created? We have Franken car. Do we have a Franken truck? And that's not meant to be bad. It's just that he scavenged one car to get that car running, but I can see him getting stuck on a,
It's died a couple times. It's been back in the shop, but they've gotten it back running. I mean, he doesn't complain. He's fine with it, but I think winter might be a little trickier, but
Yeah,
um,
I wouldn't drive it.
we'll put a plow in front of it.
I don't drive it either, so. I,
And now,
Town car?
the big black, yeah.
Haven't driven it in a long time. It's a boat.
Well, also Catherine used to take it quite a bit, or whenever she would take a car, she'd use it. So I don't know if that will become an issue when she's back. I don't know when she's coming back, but, okay. Am I good?
Thank you.
We're good.
Leanne.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Leanne.
thanks, Leanne. Very thorough report.
All right. Any discussion? No? All right, moving up in our, next up, Interim Lieutenant Abe Gilman, update on outer carrier vests, cost information. Hello,
Good evening. How you doing?
Lieutenant Gilman.
All right. So I came back to talk about the outer carriers, the pricing on the outer carriers. So what I did is I met up with Jim Barry this week. He is a rep with Safariland. And he came in and showed us a couple things with the vest, just because I know that we needed to get prices on some of those officers that needed them. So I guess pretty much let's just get down to the nitty gritty of it. So we have 4 officers right now that need vests. And that's just the ballistics. That's not, there's vest carriers and there's this, okay? So the vests themselves go for $734.25, and that's the ballistics. The soft trauma plates are $24.25. So the total on that is it's going to be $1286.85, and that's with the carrier. So you have the bulletproof, you have the vest ballistics, which will go inside the carriers, and each carrier that we were talking about that I had showed you last week are $217.25.
Those are the plates.
No, in the plate. So the first one was a $734.25. That's what I have on right now underneath mine. That's the vest, the ballistic. This will come out and go into that carrier that I had showed you last week.
Goes outside.
Goes in, and you can wear it.
I get all that.
Yep.
I just want to define that term, ballistic.
Oh,
What is the ballistic? Is it the
It's-
plate, the thing that goes in the
it's
vest?
the ballistic panel that's cut to your body. That's what it is. The ballistic is pretty much there's a hard plate that we slide in, and it's about this big,
Yeah.
and then you have this soft ballistic is what it is. It's pretty much the vest itself. That's what you call it, a vest.
Okay, so
It goes around, and then the back is shaped a little bit the same, and they overlap on the sides.
all right, okay.
On each side. And those slide into that carrier that I had shown you last week. And then there's a hard plate, and there's they call it a trauma plate, which is a soft plate. They're just little square, and they give a little bit more protection in the front. So most of the time we get a trauma plate on top of that. It's a thick plate. It's kind of angled, diverts if a round hits. So with those, so anyway, so we have 734.25 for the ballistic vest, 5-year warranty on those, and we have the carriers, which are 217.25 a piece. The soft trauma plates are 24.75, and then the carrier that the vest can go into. So you have the ballistic vest, and it can go in that, and you can wear it. If we had to, let's say, God forbid, we had somebody swearing in, you would still have maybe one uniform because these are all good. Everybody's going to have uniforms like this, and you would wear this to a swearing in, God forbid, a funeral, something like that. But they sell that with the vest, and then each pouch. So I showed you all the pouches on there. There would be a pouch for the OC. There would be one for handcuffs. There would be one for your radio. There would be a flashlight pouch. So there's technically 5 pouches altogether. So there's a longer flashlight pouch, but that uses the short one is for the OC and the longer one is for your flashlight. And then the total on the pouches are about $205. So total setup on just the vest without the ballistics, okay, is $422.25. That's with the pouches and everything, okay? That's for the people that don't need ballistic bulletproof vest, okay? They're going to use their existing ballistic vest, get sized, and then they'll have the carrier will go in, your ballistic vest will go in that. The 4 people that we have that need vest, we have 2 that are new and they don't have vests. The other ones are 2 are going to be expired. And those are with the carriers, with everything else. That's $1,286.85. So we have 4 officers at that, and then we have 10 officers of the carriers. So I can give you the grand total.
For a grand total of?
Grand total of $9369.90. So you have 4 officers at $1,286.85, which is $51.47.40. 10 officers at $422.25, which equals $4,222.50. Add those together and $9369.90. Miscellaneous information on those. Build time is 2 weeks for carriers without the ballistics. So that vest I showed you without any ballistics in it, that the 10 officers would have, those take about 2 weeks to make those. They come in, they size you, they make sure they pretty much get your panels, whatever panel is now, because this is existing, and they build your vest to that so it fits you. The officers that need the vest, the ballistic vest, they're about five weeks. That's typical. So fireline would come in, they'd size you, they do all that. The carrier is clean with a wet cloth, soap and wet cloth. And they typically last, depending on the upkeep, each person, around 3 years. 3 years plus, nothing less than 3 years on the carrier, which is really good.
Did you talk with Tim about monies, where they would come from?
I have not. I had a conversation with Abe earlier today, telling him that looking at a couple different sources, the ARP money, I want to look into that as a source of potential funds, as well as the forfeiture account. We do actually have money left in the forfeiture account, and I need to go through the documentation to see if something like this would qualify. We've got about 5,800 left there.
800?
And then, like I say, there's the ARP funding,
Bless you.
funds that I'm looking at.
I would go ahead and approve the 1286 write-off. We need those approved immediately. And I would make a motion to go ahead and approve that monies with the carriers. Need those are expired. We have to have those. Where the money comes would be up to him involved, and
You said 1286, is that?
he said 1286.85 with the carriers is 4 officers.
So the total is 1286.
I know that the total on that one there would be
4,000.
That would be 5147. That's with the vest and the carriers for those 4 officers. Obviously, they wouldn't be able to wear the carrier till everybody else had their carriers, but you could, that would, if that's the direction we're going, you'd already have them built. You could already put the order in for the 5 weeks. And then we find the monies, like you said, for those, you know, for the
So,
other.
hold on a minute.
Yep.
So it's 51, it's 51,
47.
5147.
Yeah,
All
just,
right, so 5148, and then it's another roughly around $4,200 for the other
Best.
that's correct.
vests.
Yep, that's correct.
Okay, got it. All right.
That's correct. If you wanted to go the route of just getting the vest, I mean, the ballistics for those other officers, that's an option too. That was the 734.25, and then you'd have to add the trauma plate and then the concealable carry. I can add that all up, but if the route that you were looking to go, you would be smart to have them sized, the 4 that need the vest. And when they're here, they, like you said, they order those ones, and those ones are already in the loop, are already going to get ordered. But if we decide and we don't have the money, you're right, we do need to buy those. So then that would go down to I think it's the 734.
I think it's a question of, let me ask the board, are we all okay with the outside carriers?
I like the
Yeah, go ahead, Joe.
the carriers. I like the piece of equipment. I think it was better for the police officer. And this is I wouldn't skimp on safety of the officers. I'm concerned about where the money comes from. And unless I know where the money comes from, I can't commit to purchasing equipment.
Is-
Now, we have some money for a fact to replace all of vests, correct?
Right.
So I will check into that. I can get an answer for you, but I would remind you, we're also supposed to be getting another 18,000 in from the energy saving funds that'll go to something, right? And then we've got the replacement of the FEMA public assistance money. I think that's about, I want to say 40,000 plus, something like that. So we've got funds coming in
Why don't
from,
we just get the whole thing?
well, why don't you just let me another 2 weeks? Let me just,
At least a
Confirm.
week, yeah,
Yep.
okay, we can
Not
discuss
meeting
it next week. Because if we're gonna spend 5,000, we might as well finish it off right now, if we have the funds.
I think we
Meeting
will.
next week, that's why she said 2.
Oh, well, all right, week after next, and
Yep.
that'll still work.
I think we're
Yeah.
all in favor of the carrier vests. I mean, you had something to say,
Yeah.
Scott?
Just, I think it's a wise move, and especially as we talked about, even though it's unpredictable, when you're talking about the physical health of the officers, it's going to mean less requested, time off, et cetera, et cetera. So I think down the line, it's without a doubt worth the investment. And I would urge us to go forward with the order. And it sounds like Jeannie's going to be able to get the money.
Right.
John?
Hi, Gail. I turned my mic on. Anyway, so the 5148, even if we didn't get these, we'd be spending a similar amount, maybe a little bit less, because we have to outfit those 4. So ideally, if we're going to change over something that's more, comfortable, less back and fatigue and ergonomics fit into that, now's the time.
Yeah.
And, I think just go ahead, at least say we're on board with the 4, and then from there, as you said, the other guys could get fitted while they came in to do the 4. You'd have all the information, and then.
Yeah, they'll be getting built as that time goes on, that 5 weeks, because it takes 5 weeks, and you could get it all in one package, and then you're not getting those vests. Let's just say we went with the vest, it'd be $3,410, just the vest, how they are, $3,410. And it's going to be more of a headache. You get those vests back, and it's like, okay, we found the money. Can you now size those, or can you get that going? They're like, oh, we could easily just get it going. So you're almost ahead of the curve a little bit. So, and then I also have a good read if anybody's are interested. It was like a little PowerPoint or a little article I'd found on the external vest carriers. The advantage of the progressive uniform is what a lot of officers are going. Kind of talks a little bit about the nerves and where it hits and the belt and all that good stuff. So it's short, but it's a good read.
Joe?
It just dawned on me that we saw one piece of equipment that we're talking about spending $9,000 on for the police department. But where did this particular piece of equipment come from? Is this the most cost-effective one? Is this the highest quality one? I mean, what was the process of bringing forward to us this particular vest?
This particular vest, actually, the one that I have now through Armor Express, and the one for one, it doesn't fit our body. If you brought everybody in here with the Armor Express vest, they are thicker. The technology is not up to par with Safariland. Safariland's a bigger company, and you can take I wish Jim Barry would have left a panel for me, but you can take the ballistic panel that we wear front and back, and you can almost put it in a ball. It's really, really soft. It's pliable. It's thinner, and it's going to be comfortable, and it's less money. I didn't get the exact, but I think it's almost $100 or $150 less than the vest that we're going with now. The good part about these vests going Safariland, they can size us with so everybody has Armor Express right now, or the people that have vests have Armor Express. That's what I have. These Armor Express will fit into the Safariland carriers. With Armor Express, they would not fit into, Safariland would not fit into that. So they almost made you stay with them.
Proprietary, right?
And we had an issue with that too. We had a gentleman come up, the people that have the new vests, I think it's Ort, Noel, myself, Keck at the time, but we all were fitted for a vest. He came up, fitted us. Every single one we had to send back, and some of them didn't come back 10 more weeks because they sized us wrong. You have to get them right here at the armpits or right at your belt line, or when you sit down, it pushes up. When you're driving, it digs here and you start to chafe. So we sent them back. It took 12 weeks. They said that we're a production line, blah, blah, blah. I never had good luck with them. And then when I was talking to Safariland, Armor Express doesn't even send anymore. The gentleman that had sized us last time doesn't work for the company. They don't even size. They have you pretty much take a tape and go like a generic route and figure it out. That's not the way we want to go. Not the money that you're spending. And we wear these 10, 12 hours a day. So yeah, so Jim Barry will come up, or they actually sent me a quote, which was nice the other day, that I have in here. And when he came up, they will send somebody up from Atlantic Tactical out of Mass and size us, and good to go. So they're just they're a better company. They're a more advanced company. They do police departments everywhere. Our duty holsters are Safariland. A lot of our equipment is Safariland. Really good equipment. So that's why I went that way. It actually worked out really well the way it happened. It all like fell into place. So, and when I was feeling the material with the two different carriers, one of the carriers, the other carrier, the Armor Express carrier, was really grainy, real thick, like woven. And I know that the dirt is just gonna get in everything from you. It's just gonna get into that vest, and it's not gonna clean easily. This one's the way they use it. Portsmouth has those vests, Londonderry. I think he named off like 4 or 5 departments that have those same carriers. So that's pretty much why I went with that one. Yeah.
That answers my question.
Perfect.
No, it's just that they've been around quite a while.
Yes, they have been.
It's not like a new company that just came out. I was looking at reviews.
Yeah, Safariland is a really good company. I don't know why we didn't go with them before. Jim even told me it just didn't work out. I think the other company had gotten to us before. So, and they must have did their song and dance and did the sales pitch, and that's how it happened. But it's night and day. When you brought the panels here, it wasn't even a question that why we weren't going to those panels, those vests, and those carriers. That's the direction I would go in.
Did you have the input from other offices as well?
Yes, I had Noel here. I had Sergeant Keeler came by, Officer Murray came by, and then Sergeant Pinault came by. Yep. So. Yep.
I think that we should ask Jeannie to go ahead and figure out where we're gonna get the money.
I'll have an answer for you for your next
2
meeting.
weeks, we just make the motion to go ahead and have Jim come up and size everybody all at once and get it done.
Yep, Jeannie?
I'd just like to say thank you to Lieutenant Gilman because he did a lot of research on this and he's got a lot of other things going on. So
Thank you.
to fit this in is greatly appreciate that. And I'm sure all the officers will when the board makes its final
Yeah,
decision.
they'll be happy. I've already heard I think they all watched the minutes. I think we had more views. If you looked at YouTube, maybe more views on those minutes.
Really?
It really did. I was surprised they were walking up to me and saying, "Hey, you did a good job. I think they really liked it. I think they liked it. I think you did handing that belt around." I was like, "Hey, but it will. It's that we've been trying to get carriers, and I know that some people look at them different or whatever, but it's the future. And wearing the 35, 37 pounds around your waist and doing all that is just it's not good. So
I
I
never
thank you.
once considered that
What's that?
until I picked up that belt and walked around with it.
Yeah.
I never considered what it would take to chase down the fleeing suspect.
Yeah. And
No way.
over
Or
a fence,
jump
under
in the
fence.
water
This is a
to save
fence,
somebody
and
with
you
the
can't take
35
it
pound.
off and drop it because
No, it's your radio, that's your firearm, that's everything else. You're liable for that. So that is
no,
stuck to you.
this will make the police officers' existence a lot more productive.
It was interesting that the oral board that we just had, one of the officers did have one. And he said it was well worth the money.
That's
well
the
worth
same
the money.
company. That same company, Safariland, does, because I had told the Jim Barry when he was here, and he said, "Oh yeah, we supply them." Really nice,
Yeah.
Dunbarton. Yep, that was the same company. So
Scott, you had a question?
Lieutenant Gilman, can you email that slideshow to us,
I can.
please?
Yep.
Thank you.
Excellent.
All right.
All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you. I guess we'll see
So it's
you.
done. It's just a matter of finding the money.
Thank you.
Thanks, Abe.
Thanks, Lieutenant. Thanks for all your hard work. All right. Oh, I thought sound like you were going to say something. All right. Selectmen reports. First up, Scott Ruggles.
I don't have anything this week, so we can move on to Mr. Jessamine.
All right. Next, Joe Jessman.
I only got one thing. And maybe I'm beating a dead horse here, but I brought it up in March. I'm gonna bring it up again now. I want to make a motion to do away with the position of Selectmen's liaison to the police department. I'd rather see it go to the town administrator. We have a new police chief. We have a new police station. We have a new program going forward. I think the town administrator's time as the police department administrator makes her very well qualified to be the communication and the conduit for the selectmen and the police department. So I would make a motion to that effect.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Discussion. John.
When we look to have that effective, I think right now,
Today. If I didn't say that, then it's only because I forgot, because I had meant for it to become, because new things starting on Saturday. And I want to start over fresh. No, I'm not saying anything bad about what Selectman Constantino has done here. I mean, she's been a great resource for the Board of Selectmen. Especially over the last year and the tumultuous times that we have had. Just going forward, I think it's best if we step back and allow the town administrator to deal with that department. We can always change back. It didn't work.
John.
finish up. No, I agree that we need to segue into that, but more of a segue into it with a little bit of overlap with having the chief here and doing that, and then switching over, whether a number of weeks. And I think as liaison that Selectman Constantino had planned that, possibly of segueing into that, maybe. I'd like to have her input on that.
Pat?
I think that's already, like John said, that's already in the works. I don't think it's a time right now to eliminate that position. It was voted on in March. I don't think it's for a couple of reasons. History and going into a new position, taking over a new position, not knowing the town, coming from out of state. There's a lot of different things, a new contract, not having to deal with the contract prior to. There's a lot of different reasons that you should probably have someone that has a little bit of history to tap into. Once that knowledge is gained and you no longer need that, then fine, that's the perfect time to transfer that over to the town administrator. That's not a problem at all. But right now, I don't think that that's the time to do. Right here, right now is sort of like just here you go, baptism by fire, and I don't think that's fair to the chief. So I am adamantly opposed to that. I think that new beginnings are new beginnings, but we really want to have that new beginnings in a comfort zone so that we can support her and support her the right way. And we should be able to support her the right way. So we should do that and do it proudly. I don't think that that's probably an issue. I think the only one that really has an issue with this is Joe, but I don't know what else to say. I'm kind of blindsided by this.
I've always had an issue with it, Pat. I've been pretty consistent that I thought that same as
It was voted on in March, Joe.
I understand
Just
that, and
let
I even preface this by saying
and
maybe
we've
I'm
had
beating a dead horse.
Several meetings on this, which we've allocate.
There's a motion on the floor.
We're in discussion, but we have what's the word for allocution? But I have articulated, that's the word I wanted, articulated in several meetings, not in public meetings, but we'll bring it to the public, that we should transition, and we all know that we should do that and then turn it over to being the town administrator. I don't know what the problem would be to do that. So
John?
So, yeah, and I asked Selectman Constantino on this, and one of the things was, what kind of projected timeline for something like that?
a few months, I don't foresee it any beyond that.
What's a few, he had my question, so so,
I would
no, that's
I would
fine.
say a few months. I mean, so I would probably meet with Jeannie and Corey, and when Corey feels comfortable with, with the chief, I'm sorry. It's Corey now because she's not sworn in, but, and if Corey feels comfortable, it could be next week. It could be a month from now. It could be 2 months from now.
3 months or 4 months. I just would rather not have you as a filter between me and the police department. I never hear any of this stuff except for it comes out of your mouth negative. I don't feel like I've been represented at the police department. I never have. I just don't. And I think it's inherent in the position. Okay, you got one selectman with all the authority at the police department.
There's no authority in the liaison position at all.
There's a lot of influence there. And if there's no influence, then why do we have one? There's no authority, then why do we have one?
It's just funneling information. That's all it is.
Can I jump in front of you?
Yeah.
When, back in March when we had this discussion, there was, you said 12 years, and I didn't really think about it, but I'm thinking about it now. That was pretty much the entire tenure of our previous chief, is it not? I'm just, I guess what was I don't know what the reasoning of it was when it happened when the previous chief was here.
He was here before I came.
Okay. Was there another liaison before that, or was it?
Yes, there was another liaison before me. Yeah.
Okay. I just don't remember it.
Yeah.
So.
We also had liaisons in other departments.
Right.
Right. I think,
We used to, but
And we
now
got rid
it's
of those, I
just
think,
the police department.
last year.
Right.
and I think we had one for highway. I know that was.
Given the circumstances, the reason why we kept it, and I mean, I don't feel comfortable talking about it in public, but
Some stuff.
because of the tumultuous situation that we were in, that's why we kept it.
Got.
So I support Joe's motion. This is not I'm not personalizing anything, but as I see this as a chance for the slate to be clean as we start, for the liaison to the board to be the chief of police, which is what it should be. I have yet to see a formal job description in terms of the liaison from the select board, which to me means that it's I'll use the term loosely, unofficial official position. And I think it's time, and I think we've put our trust and we've made a selection in Lieutenant Pizer to come in. And I think it's time to be able to trust that she will be able to work with Jeannie. I would hope that if they needed Pat with consultation as the, I'll use the term break-in period begins, that Pat would be there. But at this point in time, it's my position that we need to sever this position and the direct tie to the police department, that the police department should now be directly tied to us, that the report should come from our incoming chief, and that we don't need to hear it from anyone else.
No delay, not 1 week,
No
not
delay.
30 days or.
This woman has been doing,
If
woman's been
there's a-
doing
if
law
there's a
enforcement for
need-
28 years.
If there's a need for, information that only Pat has, then I'm hopeful that Pat would volunteer that and help in any way that she could.
Well, you've taken me off every committee that I've asked to be on, so if you
It's
take me
not a
off this, then
personal
it
thing.
is personal.
Well, don't
Of
make
course
it
you're making
personal.
it personal. You've taken me off every single committee. I am not on a committee now. So just remember that. So I come in and sign paychecks on a Thursday night. I think that you at least owe her the courtesy of hanging on for a few weeks or a few months just to do that. And I think you owe that respect for me as well. That's a respect thing.
No, I respect you a great deal,
I don't
Pat.
think you
do
do.
a
I don't
lot
think
of
you ever did.
wonderful things. I just want to sever this now. There's no sense, and it's not a matter of respect for the new chief. I think it's a sign of respect for the new chief that I would have her. Okay, you're the professional. You run the police department. Got a problem? Talk to Jeannie Forrest.
Well, who's to say that I'm going to negate that? Who's to say that I would pick up the phone? Jeannie's been interim chief for the last, I don't know, have I picked up the phone, Jeannie, and interfered with that at all?
I'm not saying that you're
Have
interfering. I
have
just don't
ever
want the
interfered with
liaison
you running
position
the
anymore.
department? Okay, I mean, I don't get what you're trying to do. Have I ever picked up the phone and said, do this, do that? If, in a control situation, that's not the position. That's
Every
not who
time you
Pat
talk,
Constantino is.
every time you talk to people in here, you're Selectman Constantino. The employees of the company, the town, view us as being the ultimate authority, no matter what position. If we're outside on the street, if we're at Market Basket,
The last time
Mr.
I talked
Jessamine.
with anybody in here was last Thursday night. The exception of Jeannie. So please, Tell me what I'm doing wrong.
This isn't about that.
Well, you just made a statement. Every time I talk with people in here, you're assuming that I pick up the phone every day and talk to somebody in the police station, and that's not the
I
way it
said
works,
That is
Joe.
not the way I said it at all. And
Well, what do you perceive me doing as liaison that I shouldn't be doing?
I said what I've got to say, Pat, and
Well,
I'm
I'm
not going
asking
to
you a question
engage.
now. At
I'm
least
not
give
going
me
to.
the respect of
If you
answering
want
it.
to, if you want to have this conversation after the meeting, I'd be glad to have this
You're
conversation
gonna
after the
about
meeting.
to have a vote. I'd like to at least answer the question. What do
I
you
don't want you
perceive
to
me
be the
doing that I shouldn't
liaison.
be doing?
I don't want you to be the liaison between me and the police department. Now, I don't. And I don't want
Still
John to
not
do it.
answering me the
And I don't
question.
want Scott or Eric or me.
That's still not answering the
want
question. It was just
Jeannie.
2 months ago. You voted as a group, as a selectman, to be the liaison.
I
And now you're
voted
gonna disrespect me and take it away. Why don't you allow me to walk away from it freely?
You could do
We've
that
already
right now.
said this 3 times in non-public that this was the plan. Now you've gotta do this in public. Let everybody air this out.
I think
I
it's
just-
a public issue.
John,
Yeah, like to make a motion, and
There's a
all
motion
due
on the
respect,
floor.
to amend the motion to no more than 30 days, to at least to go 30 days. That would need a second to amend that.
the amendments to
Well, the 30 days, so just have the.
allow it for 30 days. The selectmen's liaison to the police department to continue for 30 more days.
Yes.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, so if I could discuss on it.
Sure, there's discussion.
I think that it's useful and beneficial for I don't have the time for a lot of the things that pop up and stuff like that, or to share the information. And I think Pat's done this for 9 years or something, and the overlap is very helpful. And I appreciate all the stuff with the contracts and all that Pat has done for the last 9 years. And I think it's a crucial time to have somebody that's going to be the liaison in the position of liaison just for that brief time, a little bit of overlap, not cut it right off.
Why?
I think the sharing of the information and our information to her in a readily available time is beneficial. I know Pat doesn't make any decisions on it. She hears the stuff and brings it back to us and shares it with us, just like when I do with Conservation Commission. I do it with the planning board information, and it's almost like ex officio. There's been a lot of things going on in the last few years that I've appreciated having that information brought to me without having to, somebody that has a lot of information on this firsthand, along with negotiating the contracts, and that it's been very helpful. I think with the new chief on asking about some of the provisions of the contracts, the union contract that been coming to us for, that they could go to Pat for, and then Pat shares that with us and says the issues or whatever's going on. The other thing, and I'm eager to have our chief or administrator advisor before us and give us the reports in public and in non-public and do that. And that's something we haven't really had for a few years. And I think that once she is here and starts feeling some of it and talks to Pat about some of the stuff that we've had as selectmen, it'd be a lot easier than the once a week thing. and in public and more non-public. And sometimes I'm not the best communicator, but my heart, my strong belief is that we need a little bit of overlap.
I have a question that I'm going to rely on probably the three of you as longer tenured selectmen than Mr. Ruggles or myself. When we had other liaisons, and those were, was there one during the, I'll call it the honeymoon period, I think, whatever you call it, probationary, I don't know what you called it before, the honeymoon period. When we had a new administrator, town administrator, or the new DPW director. Was there a liaison during that time, during there?
With part
Yeah.
Kevin, it was all the way up through part of Kevin, then after that, we
Right.
eliminated it.
So when Kevin Duvall came on, was there a liaison, or was it cut clean when he started?
Prior to
was
that, it
something
was
with-
Joyce.
It was Joyce before that, so it wasn't, it
I
was
thought
all,
Peter was
right.
doing that, and he was interim
And he was in.
interim director for a
Right.
while.
Oh, he was intern. He
Was
wasn't.
that?
And then when Kevin came on,
But he was the liaison for
liaison.
2 years.
Was he the liaison while Kevin was new, or was he before Kevin? Was he the liaison?
Before Kevin, and then Joyce came on, and then was overlap, and then Joyce took over as liaison. We shifted it over,
and we eliminated that.
right, because there were some personnel issues at the time.
What about when I think Joe was the liaison to the town hall at some point?
Right.
And was there another one after you?
No.
So when,
For me.
so Joe, when you finished, was it before Jeannie's time or after Jeannie's time?
Before
Before.
Jeannie's time.
Okay, so there was none at the time.
Hmm.
I'm just processing in my head.
I think we hire professional people to do a professional job.
Oh,
And we shouldn't interject. Well, no, that's got nothing to do with John's motion.
I'm just processing in my,
Some of what I want to say, I can't say in public.
You can call me any name you want.
It's not calling names, it's the information that you have because of being a liaison. We wouldn't be in this position today,
Mhm.
and we wouldn't have this new beginning today because of the liaison. So just mind that,
I have.
something that you didn't want to open your eyes to.
Can't say.
all right. Is there any other discussion on John's
Motion to amend.
motion to, there was a second by Pat, right?
Yes.
All right. Is there any other discussion? All those in favor of John's motion, it's just the motion, amendment to
To amend
John's amendment to Joe's motion. Gotta make sure I got the terminology right. Say aye.
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 All those opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Hey,
Nay. All right, back to the main. That motion failed. Or the amendment failed. Back to the Joe's motion, which was to eliminate the selectmen's liaison to the police department. Is there any other further discussion?
I do have one question for Jeannie Forrester. And I should have asked you this before. Can you take on this role? Are you willing to take on this role?
I will do whatever this board asks me to do.
You think it should be now or a month from now? Well, I mean, he asked you a question, I'm gonna answer your question. Do you feel it should be now, or do you feel it should be a month from now?
I feel like that's a decision for this board and not for me.
Do you feel it would hinder in any way? If it were a month from now?
Is it, are you asking Jeannie that, or are you asking the board that?
I'm asking Jeannie that.
Do I feel that it would hinder anything? I feel like, given the experience of this, of Lieutenant Pizer coming in, that she can handle the position. I feel strongly about that. She's got a wealth of experience. She's confident. I think the majority, if not all of the majority of the PD personnel are in support of the selection that the board made. I think the community is as well. So I think she'll be fine. I think, to Joe's point, you have a wealth of information that obviously you can share with her, and that
Do we take a brief recess?
I'd like Selectman Constantino to be here during the vote.
Okay, so I guess we'll take a brief recess, the time being 5:56 PM. We'll be back.
This conference will now be recorded.
The time being 5:57, we are back in session out of recess. So is there any more discussion on
Didn't
the,
hear the rest of Jeannie's, I'm sorry.
oh,
I think I ended by saying that I agree that Pat has a wealth of information, understanding of the police department. And to Joe's point, I would guess that that's something she would be willing to share with Lieutenant Pizer when she becomes chief.
This is one of these things that people say, you do a great job. I like what you're doing. People vote you in. They want you to do the job that you're doing. But the politics behind doing something and the feeling that you get behind the politics is not a very good feeling. Never liked it. I don't like to play it. I have always tried to do my job the best of my ability. I don't like having to be blindsided into something that was in this whole last year very tumultuous. We got through it. We're kind of on the other side. We've had many meetings and planned out, well thought out process. Part of that process was to stay on as liaison until the chief got settled. And now the selectmen are trying to boot me out of that position. It's not a question of whether the chief can do it or not do it. The chief, we wouldn't hire her if she couldn't do it. She's extremely capable of doing this and very capable. And I couldn't be more ready to give it up. Trust me. I don't like the politics behind it. I know why it's being done. And I really don't like it. I implore you to vote this down. It's not a very good feeling. And it's not a very good feeling being in public having to say this. but I am, and I'm going to stand up for my rights. Do what you need to do, but it's not right the way it's being done. It's a blindsided political thing to do, and it's wrong. We talked about it. We've talked about it several times. Jeannie and I have talked about it. When I met the chief, we talked about it. Trying to find her a place to live, we talked about it. So, you know, you're on your own in a month, whatever. So I don't know how much plainer I can get, but the thought of publicly mistrusting and disrespecting and saying, I want Pat out, is so humiliating to me. And I don't think of, 12 years as being a selectman and being a liaison and a friend to the police department deserves that kind of behavior. I'm just sorry. It just doesn't deserve that kind of behavior. And it's extremely disrespectful to me as a person. So that being said, take your vote. I call the vote.
Call. All right. All those in, there's no discussion with the call, right? No. All right. All those in favor of Joe's motion to eliminate the selectmen's liaison to the police department, say aye.
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 Aye,
Yes, it's effective immediately.
effective immediately. All those opposed?
Nay.
Motion passes.
And I have my microphone off. I just want to make publicly that I'm supportive of the motion, but I'm not in that timeline. I was looking more for like a 30-day, as I said before. I just want to let everybody else know that.
Scott?
Am I allowed to respond to Selectman Constantino's?
It's not necessary.
Am I allowed to respond to Selectman Constantino's comments?
You are.
I don't get offended often. You pointed that, and I don't know if you were pointing that at an individual or the group who was considering this move. I did not consider this as not a personal thing. This is a positional thing for me. As I looked at and analyzed, I believe I found in the state of New Hampshire only one other place, Hudson, New Hampshire, that has a liaison to their police department. They have liaisons to each department. So if you are personalizing that toward all of us, that's uncomfortable and it's not okay. Because this is not for me about you. It's about the position that is not listed. It's about a position that is not defined. And as you have seen over my tenure here, my very short tenure, and I understand I don't have as much background anywhere close to anyone else. I'm about policy and procedure. And I've noticed a lack of policy, procedure, things that are set out, and that needs to be improved for communication in this town. So to personalize it, and if you're aiming it at anyone here, then you should probably be direct with them and not generalize it, because that's not okay.
Okay. Anything else?
That was my whole slip.
Okay. Thank you, Joe. I had Kim Souls gave me this. It says, "Dear Select Board, can you please sign this unlicensed dog warrant and return to me to process? Much appreciated." So it is a warrant for unlicensed dogs. Do we just each sign this?
Every year.
I don't remember doing it last year.
Yeah, they do arrest the unwarranted.
They arrest the dogs?
Unlicensed.
They go and they make contact and they,
They first call, they first send out letters, then they
Okay.
do all sorts of things first, and then they they ask us to sign a warrant. So it dwindles down. Last year, there might not have been only a couple that they got.
I don't remember
to come
doing it
in.
last year at all. So,
yeah, we did it.
all right, I guess we'll do that. All right. And in the ever-growing saga of the fireworks display. Hold on. I had to find the message I had. So the gentleman that does the fireworks is called Hell's Gate, and he double booked himself for the show that we wanted to do on the 25th with a wedding party.
Boom.
Okay, the 24th. Either way, he double booked himself with a wedding. Can't do the wedding at the Riverfront Park, which I thought would have been kind of cool. Having a couple hundred people that you don't know cheering yourself on. So I am inquiring. I placed a call. I didn't get a call back. So it is either going to be, it most likely is going to be August 7th. More to come. I don't know. That's all I had for today. John Scanlon. Do I give this to you? Sorry. Or do I? Okay.
It's been a busy week. Over the weekend, I did the historical committee or association did receive a copy of the letter from the state. They got their copy, conservation got theirs, and there was some discussion. And I went out with John Sorello and Tim. What else? And we met, we took a look at the section. It's 535 feet along the river that they're intending to do the work on. And John had also gotten some copies. He talked to DOT and got some draft drawings of what they're going to do. Some of the concerns, and they're asking for all the different groups to come up with some ideas for mitigation and things like that. And there were some things that did come up that the Historical Society and then some with other citizens and that, or some type of mitigation on that. And the top 10 priority list for the town, the commissioners offered the following suggestions. Stabilizing the island with stones and banking. This is just like a preliminary ideas, like a little work session on this. Stabilizing around the Truesdale Trust Bridge, purchasing land for a town beach, replace culverts that may be causing flooding, remediate sediment control issues, remediate drainage problems from this section all the way down to Timetable Mabel, a fishing pier at Salmon Run, green space for recreation, preserve farmland and forest areas. Now, you may say that these don't relate to that road. However, when you do impose on wetlands, they do mitigation in other ways, in other conservation ways. So some of those you could tell were had to do with conservation, some had to do with the historical, and some were some citizen type things. So it's important that we get going on that and pay attention, because they're listening and they're asking us for input on how that all will be formed in that wall and the river. And one of the big things that came up is if they narrow it, because I think it came out to be like 18 feet that with the slope, the 2-to-1 slope with the 9 feet that it will go up further, that it would be out there. So that narrows down the river in that section, which changes the flow and redirects it head on at the island. And since you narrow it down, you increase velocity flowing at it. So So I think it's important that we all, the different parties that they ask for information on, participate in this so we can, get something done nice and correctly to stabilize the banking and at the same time preserve what we have. Some of the other things, it came up, I brought up at the planning board meeting last night, and the land use said that they had never received a copy of this letter. They received a bunch of stuff from DOT, but they didn't see that letter in there. So that's a big concern, that we want to make sure that land use does get in the loop if we see these things coming in on that. And she was going to check in to find out why she was not included in receiving that letter. There's a couple other things. Planning board's coming up. U-Haul's doing a major 3-story building
Where?
next to where they are.
Oh, that vacant lot that's there?
I'm not sure. I just actually, I think I just opened it up. And I started just late this afternoon. So that's something we want to take a look at. A 3-story building next to there. There's a lot of wetlands in there and drainage and flow over that. But like I said, I looked at the drawing and it looked like when you're looking at the U-Haul, it's to the left.
If it's that vacant,
Be the west side.
that would be the west side.
Is that where that?
That vacant lot is there.
Lot and
And then I
that
know
single floor house.
years ago,
structure.
I don't know how many years, I say years, maybe 5 years ago, someone wanted to do something with that. And if you're looking at that vacant lot, the front right corner closest to U-Haul has wetlands.
Yeah.
So that might be,
And the other issue they had was that banking, there's water that comes down through that
oh,
banking.
sure.
So,
There was a site plan. I was on the planning board at the time. There was a site plan on that property that
for something else.
we're talking about for something else.
It's like a little strip mall, I think.
Yeah, and I think
Yeah, yeah.
that got scrapped.
But yeah,
But,
I think because of they would have to put the building, they wanted the building to be closer to the highway for visibility reasons.
Yeah.
But the only place to do it was putting it in the back because that's where the high area was and the dry area was.
So they're going to have, there's going to be a lot involved in that. They're meeting with the Conservation Commission on, I think it'll be the meeting in July to go over it with the engineers and all that on the wetlands and stuff like that. And then I'm sure there's going to be a lot involved to it, but they're going to be moving right along. So we want to think about that. As much input.
Or storage.
Yeah, 3 stories. Fire department, I don't know.
So I don't know if they'll, yeah, I don't know.
Just out of curiosity, John, what are they gonna put there in 3 stories? A corporate office
Well,
or?
I saw some drawings and this is just all preliminary. So I just only looked at 15 minutes tonight, which showed some artist details of like a large building where trucks could pull in and then they unload those pods or something.
Oh.
Yeah.
Like my box.
Yeah.
Like my box,
Like
But
yeah.
my
also have
box, yeah.
interior storage.
Yep.
or- I mean,
Inside climate
Probably a
control,
big,
probably.
yeah, I mean,
Probably more like a
mean,
warehouse type
Don't
thing, I
quote me
imagine.
up because
Yeah.
I took 10 minutes looking at it.
I think they have that down in Manchester on South Willow Street, something that has like that pod storage or whatever you want to call it. So, wow.
So that's a big thing that's coming up. And there's also a site walk for the light manufacturing of wood products that's coming up where the old clam place was. Well, maybe I shouldn't say the old clam
The
place. 'cause
plants,
they were-
the plants,
Okay, so it's right next to the pawn shop,
pawn shop.
right next to pawn shop, that
Okay.
empty lot.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
So his plans for that, and he's offering a site walk for people to, go and take a look and do that. There's wetlands behind it. Some of the application,
It's a
he
12
wants to
acre
have
site, I
that,
think,
but
isn't it? It's a 12 acre site, isn't it?
yeah, there's a lot of wetlands back there, but.
Oh, yeah, but it drops off.
So it's all, how you place it. On his application, he said, and then also possibly a food stand and possibly some other things and possibly. But that was
Roller coaster, please.
a roller coaster.
Please.
He's an entrepreneur.
So it's been busy, you know, like Leanne said, there's some big projects that are starting and there's some big ones that are almost to done fruition. So that's pretty much it. As for the routes on the island, I have a call in. I spoke with Bob Hardy to make sure everything and the routes are treated properly. There's an urban forester that he's on vacation. That's probably come out at no charge and take a look to make sure that if we cover the routes, would we actually be causing more damage?
Yeah.
And the proper way to handle trees in an urban forest setting where they get a lot of wear and walking
Yeah.
on. So,
Well, I didn't think of that. That's great.
Yeah.
That's
So,
great.
yeah.
When will that happen?
well, he's on vacation this week and it's AJ, I forget his last name. They're in Portsmouth. Try and get him to come out, take a look, bunch of us. And
Very nice.
so we can, which also will fit in if we get mitigation for the island from the ranking being done. He would be the one they could consult with for them to mitigate our island from getting washed away. So,
But actually,
integral parts.
while you were talking, it just popped in my head, so I'll ask either you or Jeannie or something, but would this DOT project be an opportunity for us to perhaps, since I don't think it's a DOT project that they're going to do the work, that they're going to bid it out, that they're probably going to have some equipment in the river or near the river, some heavy lifting equipment for rocks, that maybe we could look at bidding, seeing a company, if they would take some of those granite slabs to kind of put them in the wall, because as you said, if you narrow that channel down, you're going to raise the water level and the velocity. Well, the tip of the, I don't know, is that the east end or the north end of the island where it's eroding because the rocks are, we get a high rain, it takes out water. But the wall there is designed, I believe, to prevent erosion. And I don't know if it's something that, I know we put money.
That was part of it. Yeah.
I know we've put money away. What would it cost to tap into that and see if we can get that project?
If they do mitigation, it's very likely that could cover the whole scope of the project is what I'd like to shoot for.
So if you remember, probably 6-8 months ago, I had a hydrologist come to Tilton and walk the island with me to look at. And this hydrologist was recommended by the DOT or actually the Department of Environmental Services as the company to use. And so he is giving us a quote to remediate or mitigate the erosion on the island.
Oh, good. Okay. Thanks, Judy.
So I think they gave a timeline that they want to start in September, but it doesn't look too.
No, I think it's gonna be next year. They were out surveying this. They were surveying this morning.
Yeah.
I told you I'd gotten an email from Alan Hanscom and he said it's not likely to happen until maybe the spring.
Yeah. There's some things happening. Busy week, and I also told you about the thing coming up next week.
Yeah.
If everybody can make that, or
Yeah,
anybody.
oh, the thing at the Veterans Home,
Yes.
not at the Veterans Home. I don't know if I can say it. All right.
That's it for me.
All right. Thanks, John. Pat?
I met with the town selectmen in Northfield in Samerton. Got pretty big beaten up in Northfield, but we're on the right road. There's two differences that they want. One is every effort will be made to accommodate all riders, however, will accommodate Tilton residents first. I agree with it. It should be first come, first serve. They call into a number. It doesn't matter which resident calls it in. If that number is if that day is taken, they call in, say, I need a ride July 5th. We call the driver. If the driver's available, then that time slot's taken. It doesn't matter whether it's Tilton or Northfield. It's the driver, whoever calls in first, it's taken. So that's really a non-issue. The other issue was the monies, and Northfield would really, because it's a new program, want it to be looked at as perhaps maybe a per person fee rather than a blanket fee for now until we collect more data. So for now, I've been talking with Tim to try to come up with a fee. We're gonna talk with Kevin to see what we've spent on the bus so far for maintenance, and I'm going to give him the totals of how many rides we've taken since the bus has been in existence, and we'll figure it out from there. It's going to be on the high side, but it's still going to be a number. And then we'll go back to Samberton and Tilton.
Have you started taking the residents of
Not till
Northfield?
we have a memorandum of understanding in place.
Any estimates on what the ridership might be like?
We have
I remember you said in the past that there was someone,
4
Northfield.
waiting on a waiting list in Northfield, and we have 2 or 3 in Samberton waiting. They're ready to open up the senior center for meals. That would increase to 6 in Samberton.
what about in Northfield?
Not yet in Northfield. Stays the same.
All right. Anything else? All right. Town administrators report. Bless you. Again. And again.
Bless you. So I think you all probably know that the new chief is in town. And she is planning to be at the ribbon cutting on Saturday. I have she has signed the contract, the board has signed the contract, and I put together the PAR, which was in your to be signed folder. So I just needed to have you sign that. Officer Murray, got some feedback from parents and kids. You know, she got them involved. You probably know she got them involved, a bunch of the youth who, kind of a real mix of youth who wouldn't naturally get together, but brought them all together to do the flag installations around town. And it was a pretty productive activity. And so they asked her as the SRO if she would come up with something else that would get the kids engaged in the summer. So she was thinking about trying to do a weekly wiffle ball game. She expected it to be about 20 youth. She said she'd be willing to do it on Tuesday nights after work. And she wanted permission to use the field. So I know this board voted to give the fields back to parks, but you haven't made an effective date yet. So I don't know who she's supposed to ask for permission to use the field, because I think she wants to start in the next couple weeks.
My intent when I made that motion was that it happened right then.
Oh, okay.
That was
I
my
don't-
intent. I'm not much of one for let's drag this out.
Okay, because we were having discussion, I think, about when the parking lot was done. So I didn't get clear direction on
Actually,
that.
you're right. There was
So-
talk about when the parking lot was complete so that they wouldn't have to worry about that. Is the parking lot complete out there?
I would say yes, it's ready.
It looked,
Done.
I was out there earlier and it looked like it was Maybe it needs a little landscaping, but it looks totally functional.
So my question to the board is, should I direct her to go to, at this point, the Parks Commission has control over the field. And I will tell her she needs to ask the Parks Commission.
Say yes.
Okay. The other question, which I didn't put on the action item, but did want to ask the board about Saturday. Seems like a perfect opportunity to swear in the new chief. And I have put together some draft remarks, but have not handed them out to the board yet because I didn't know how you wanted to handle it. Eric will be doing welcome remarks. It would maybe seem appropriate to do it right up front after he welcomes everybody, welcomes her, swears her in. But again, it's up to the board how you want to do this. After Eric speaks, we have Kevin LaChapelle, who is going to make some of his own remarks relative to the Police Building Study Committee, followed by Pat, who's going to make some remarks about all the donors, or this is what I suggest. And I'll send you all draft and you can throw it away or you can do, I'm just putting together a suggested program. So what I did know is if you would want to have Scott be next and he could talk about the process of the interview team of selecting Corey, and then he could introduce Corey, and then Corey would say a few words about community policing and being excited to be joining the town of Tilton. The whole program, I would envision not taking more than 20 minutes. So.
Pat?
Have you sworn anybody in?
I did Officer Salmon.
I haven't for 6 years.
We have, it's been tradition that we've taken turns to swear people in, so I just did somebody.
I just did somebody. John would be up then.
John would be up then.
So
That's
that
been a
being,
long time,
so,
huh, John?
so that being the case,
Elizabeth Murray.
so that being the case, after you do your welcome remarks, you could ask John to come up to swear in Corey.
Sure.
All right. I will let Gail know so she can prepare the paperwork. In your FYI, I've put some information there. I don't know if anyone has any questions. Just a reminder, we don't have a meeting on July 1st. And
I have a question on the fourth bullet. Are they doing their own or are you somebody doing them for them, the evaluations?
so the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, actually, I think they all have done their self-evaluation. I have them and I am scheduling, I had actually scheduled meetings with them this week, but that didn't happen because I got caught up in some other issues. So I will be sitting down with them to go over their performance evaluations, and then I will bring those. My plan was to bring those to the board on the 8th of July.
So you're bringing the self-evaluations to us?
No,
Or you're doing evaluations?
typically what happens is I look at the self-evaluations. The only self-evaluation that you all see are Tim and mine. And yeah,
So we're going to get a regular evaluation from you on these as well?
correct.
Got it.
And that's all I have unless it is, unless anyone has any
Either hot or
questions
cold,
for me.
we can't win. Thought I had something. I just have a question going back to Officer Murray.
Yep.
So is she still the SRO?
She is done. The
Okay, so
school
she's
is-
doing this out of her love of the kids.
Yes, I would expect, and that would be something you'd want to have a conversation, maybe or maybe not in non-public, whether it be counted as comp time or since it's something that she's doing on behalf of the town, but that's for the board to decide that.
I heard Selectman Ruggles is a mean pitcher.
Having the non-public here.
Yes.
Maybe the air conditioner will only be half.
I was thinking that open.
Or it could get colder.
It could get colder because it might be the igloo.
Yeah, well, I brought my sweatshirt just because.
You need a sweatshirt, Pat? I got one in my car. All right. Jacket? All right. So are you all set, Jeannie?
I am.
All right. So the time being 6:31. I make a motion to enter non-public per RSA 91-A:3, Roman numeral 2A, the dismissal, promotion, or compensation of any public employee or the disciplining of such employee or the investigation of any charges against him or her unless the employee affected, 1, has a right to a public meeting, and 2, requests the meeting be open, in which case the request shall be granted. We expect to be back in the public session at approximately 8 p.m. Do I have a second?
Second,
Second.
Jessamine.
Roll call vote.
Constantino, yes.
Jessamine, yes.
Pyra, yes.
Ruggles, yes.
Hanlon?
Yes.
We are in non-public session at 6:32 p.m.
To the
This
non,
conference will now be recorded.
I'm just giving them a job.
All right, we're back in non-public session. Make a motion to seal the minutes of the non-public meeting of June 24th, 2021, because the reasons justifying the need for the non-public session still remain.
Constantino, second.
The motion is second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Any new business to come before the board?
Motion to adjourn.
The time being
Second.
9:47, motion to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Have a good night.